I listen. I can feel it. I experience it. And I breathe it. This is music to me. And who am I? My name is Nina, and I'm a music lover. And I'm about to take you on a journey into one of the craziest industries in the world. This is Connected by Frequency. Welcome, music lovers. Are you ready for another journey into the music industry? My name is Nina, and I want you to follow me to discover something new. First, I want to thank you all for the great support, and huge thanks to the Infinity Lighthouse team for providing the best recording and production service for this podcast and believing in me and this project of mine. Today, I wanted to introduce you to one American professional responsible for more than 80 big names in the industry when it comes to marketing campaigns, project management, and various artist services and promotion activities, but also a recording artist. Yes, your support will always be precious. So if you'd like me to continue doing this podcast the way I do it, please make this easier for me via Patreon or PayPal donations. All the information will be written in the video description and on the Connected by Frequency Facebook page. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Like this video and share it everywhere you can. Likes and comments count the most, and I will much appreciate it. Thank you. One of the top dance music professionals on the planet, this guy has worked as a senior director of marketing at Astralwerks, Capitol, Island, Virgin Records, leading campaigns for huge names in the music industry, such as Swedish House Mafia, deadmau5, Above and Beyond, Porter Robinson, The Chemical Brothers, Eric Prydz, Moby, The Prodigy, Pet Shop Boys, Tiesto, Armin van Buuren, and many more. He runs Bampire, the world's #1 marketing PR agency for electronic music. He is also a recording artist with over 4.5 million streams on Spotify. You can read his articles in famous magazines such as Billboard, EDM.com, and some others. And he often gets invited to various conferences to talk about different topics related to the music industry. He's just a regular New York guy cruising in the streets of Belgrade for a few months already, and this is not his first time in our lovely city. A warm welcome to this legend everyone wants to work with, Lawrence Louis. Good afternoon, dear friend.
Hey, it's great to be here. Yeah, thanks for having me.
That's good to hear.
For sure.
You seem you're in a good mood today.
Yeah, I'm in a great mood.
I'm delighted to see that.
Yeah, I try to be. Yeah.
All right, let's start from the beginning. I always like to start like that. So, who is Lawrence Louis? The owner of world's #1 marketing PR agency for electronic music, a recording artist, leading music-related magazines reporter, a speaker. Who is Lawrence?
Oh wow, that's a. I don't know. I'm just like a New York boy, born to Chinese parents. Got into music when I started working for a college radio station. And then from there, I started working in the music business, doing radio promotions. Actually, that was my first job for kind of cool indie bands. And then there was this huge revolution of electronic dance music. And I kind of was a part of that, kind of along for the ride, worked on promoting and marketing some amazing records, had the privilege of working with some, amazing artists as well. So was kind of floated around the major label system for a while. And, over the last 5 years, have my own marketing agency and have been doing really well. And also, as you said, also work on my own music. Also, do journalism as well. So, I do a lot of things, wearing many hats. So it's good. I enjoy it. Keep myself busy.
Impressive journey, I have to say, I guess. All right. So, as you said, you started as a radio promoter and a music director at WNYU, New York radio station. So when exactly that happened and how did it happen? Did it start?
Well, that was just, when you're a student. I was actually a film student. at NYU, and I got involved. I was always really into music, going to concerts all the time. And I got involved in the station, was a DJ there, apparently some people thought I knew what I was doing. And so I was promoted to music director. And, this is a student station, but because it was in New York, it was considered kind of an influential college student station. And so it was a good stepping stone into the music business because I kind of got to know all the other promoters from all the labels and got a sense of what it took to kind of promote music. And so that was my sort of first taste in promoting, marketing music and what it takes. And so that's sort of how I kind of made the transition from working at a radio station, then working radio promotions. And then at one point I kind of transitioned into marketing artists at a label. So, yeah.
But when did you realize that you're into music? Like really into music?
Oh, wow. This is going to really date me, but I used to be one of those kids that was, listened to the American Top 40, and was like, and I would be like watching MTV all the time and, taping the songs off MTV. And, so I've always been into music, and I was into pop music at first when I was a little kid, because that's all I was hearing. My parents were Chinese and they were mostly into classical music. And then I remember there was sort of a breakthrough for me where I got into more alternative music because I was listening to things like it was the 80s, it was a long time ago. So I was listening to things like Hall & Oates, and just whatever the Billboard Top 40 was playing on the radio and MTV. And there was a lot of good stuff there. But I had a friend named Daniel, and he was into more alternative music. He was into things like The Cure and Susie and the Banshees and the Sisters of Mercy. And I remember specifically, he was like, "Lawrence, what are you listening to?" Like in the lunchroom. And then he would, then he gave me a tape, right? It's like, listen to this. And it was like all this weird, like industrial music and like gothic music. And that sort of got me really into music because I realized that it's not just something on the radio, but can be something like really interesting and artistic as well. Wow. And I started going to concerts, and so that was sort of my introduction to music, as it were.
A long time ago, I guess.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
All right. But you are a film producer and a director by profession, right?
Not really. I was more like a film student. So I have a master's degree at NYU in cinema studies. And I've always had an interest in film, but I've never really actually made films and things like that. Yeah. So.
But how did you end up being top professionals in music industry? From this point of view when you liked movies, for example.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you this. I've never really actually said this publicly, but I think. I was in film school, right? And what I realized, I think maybe I was just lazy or something, because what I realized is if I envision something in my head as a film that I want to make, I would have to get this whole team together. It would be expensive, it would be a lot of effort, all the actors and cinematographers and, and everything, right? And to make something I was really happy with, right? Artistically, as a film, even if it's a short film. But I could create a piece of music in my room in an hour, right? Literally. You could write a song, if you have a guitar or piano, you can put together something that you can play it back and be happy with, just by yourself, right? It's sort of like writing poetry or something, right? You can just do it in your room by yourself, right? And that was sort of more appealing to me, It was a kind of a more easier path to being creative than making film, So I think that is sort of why I sort of gravitated more towards music. And also just by chance, you know, I started getting jobs in music ultimately, right? And I was getting jobs in film, but they were very kind of low level, like production assistant type jobs, right? So, but then I started getting jobs in music that was like real responsibility. My first real job in the music industry, other than being the head of the radio station, was being the head of radio for this cool indie label that was putting out really cool records, right? And suddenly I was like, you know, a kid out of school, and I was the head of their radio department, you know? So, I mean, it's a department of one, but I could just run the department, right? Yeah. While, you know, at film, I wasn't really doing anything. So, yeah.
Interesting point of view.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so you and Kleinfeld,
yes.
who was music editor of CMJ at the moment when you were music director and promoter at WNYU, formed Bampire marketing agency after working together on Swedish House Mafia.
Yeah.
How did you two connect?
How did I do what?
How did you two connect, you two?
I mean, I think we met each other when we were working on Swedish House Mafia. You know, the Swedish House Mafia's manager was Amy Thompson, who is a genius, who's amazing, right? She retained Justin to do press for the Swedes, and I was the U.S. marketing point person. I was their project manager at the time, and for Astralwerks, and so that's how we met. Yeah. So.
Nice. And the journey began.
yeah. And, you know, I've hired him for other things since then. And it's been an amazing journey with him and all the music that we've worked, you know, on together. So.
Awesome. Yeah. Cool. So your agency provides a full service marketing, project management, artist services, and promotion activities. How did you decide to start this kind of project, this specific kind of project? Is it about experience you had? Yeah,
I think it was mostly kind of combining my experience with Justin Kleinfeld's experience, right? My business partner, because he was Tiesto's publicist, and he's been the publicist. You know, he's been a publicist for like Flux Pavilion, a lot of the big acts in the electronic world. And so he had the whole publicity thing down, right? But what I brought was more the marketing end of things, right? Because I've been working at, you know, major labels doing marketing for years. And so, you know, when we formed it, we very consciously formed a marketing company, not a PR company, right? So we wanted to take a very holistic approach to music and to bringing music to market, because we feel that, you know, publicity, PR is just one small piece of the pie, you know, and we want, you know, and we want to be involved with like all aspects of putting a record out and getting it, you know, known to people, right? Since that's, you know, between the two of us, that's sort of our entire area of expertise. We can handle everything. So, you know, and we feel like there's sort of a need for that as well. And, you know, there is, because, you know, we have great clients. We get approached all the time for kind of a more holistic approach, as opposed to, just get a review in a blog or something, right? That's just a very narrow way of looking at the bigger picture. So, you know, we look at things in a very big picture way. We look for kind of narratives and stories to tell about releases and artists, and really work closely with the artists and management, and you know, to kind of create, you know, the campaign. So, it's exciting. It's what I do. It's very creative, you know. And I'll say that because COVID, you know, has created almost a vacuum, because artists weren't able to tour as much as they used to. So there's a lot more dependence on creative marketing, right? They're still they're still making music, putting out music, and there needs to be more creative ways to get that music out to people. you know, and so that's why during this, you know, we've been very, very fortunate and lucky that during this whole period, you know, we've done well. You know, we've still, you know, people still hire us. We have great, you know, long-term clients like Above and Beyond and Anjuna Beats and Anjuna Deep and a number of other clients. So, you know, so we've actually done well over the pandemic, because there's always this need to like market records and to get records more exposed. So
exactly.
Yeah.
I think what you're doing is really important, and definitely there is a huge need for something like that regarding the artists.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the industry itself, for sure.
Yeah, and new creative ways, you know, because things are always changing, and there's always needs to be.
This is really important, you know, to be creative all the time, the upgrade your creativity. But how did you know you could easily gain clients if you knew at the beginning?
You know what? I think it's just confidence in our experience and our resumes. Because, you know, like you read it in the beginning, you know, we've worked, you know, among the two of us with pretty much anybody who's anybody in dance electronic music, right? So, you know, the fact that we've done so much, you know, I think helps, right? In just letting people know that, you know, we're not spring chickens. We're not here just to, you know, email a couple of blogs. We're actually kind of seasoned veterans, you know, and we know what we're doing. And so, yeah, people sort of seek us out because of that, and they, you know, they know about us, they find out about us, they, you know, they want to work with us. So that's great. We're really fortunate, you know, to be in that position. So yeah,
that's really interesting. I mean, everything comes around the experience, whatever you do in your life. So this is completely understandable. So okay, speaking of your clients, your first clients were actually British trio, Above and Beyond, and Australian producer and a DJ, Tidy, right?
Yes. Those were the early clients that we had for Bampire when we first started.
Yeah. This is what I was talking about. Okay, hell of a start, if you ask me.
Yeah, no, it was great.
But how did you start with those exact names? Did you knew them before?
Okay, so yeah, well, it's a little bit of an interesting story because it's totally two completely different stories. The first one, the reason we got involved with Above and Beyond is because of their team. We knew their team for years. Basically, years ago, there was. You know, there's an artist called Matt Zoe, which I'm sure you're
of course,
familiar with. So, who's amazing, brilliant artist, and he put out a record that was kind of a joint release between Anjuna and Astralwerks. Right, was his first album. Right, and that album was a debut record, right? And it did really well. He did a collaboration with Porter Robinson that I think went to #1 on Beatport. It was a #1 college electronic record. It was a #1 breakout album on Billboard. So it did really well. And I was the project manager on that record, you know, because I was working for Astralwerks. So I really got to know the Anjuna team, James Grant there, who's amazing, and Alan McGrath. And so I kind of knew them, right? And so when it was time for, you know, when I started my own company, I happened to see James Grant at in Miami for Miami Music Week, and I told him I was leaving Island and starting my own company, and so he said, "Well, we got to talk because we have a Above and Beyond album coming out in 6 months, so let's talk." And so that's how it kind of started.
Wow.
Yeah. And Tidy was great. Tidy sent us his a really, really cool album called Collide, which I just really personally loved because it was a combination of, he's a brilliant kind of arranger, musician, composer. And then it was a mix of electronic music and and classical music, right? It had like classical orchestrations and things like that. And we thought it was a really, really cool, interesting mix. And you know, we told him that, and we started working with him, and we actually managed him for a while.
Oh, wow.
You know, and yeah, so
you recognize this in him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, here's, you know, when it comes down to it, you know, what I say to all the clients when they first approach us is like, well, let's hear the music, right? Because we have to vibe with the music. It has to kind of be meaningful for us. We have to feel passionate about it to work it, you know? And for that, it just really started with the music. You know, he sent us the album, told us the concept, and we're like, this is a beautiful record. You know, we want to help you get it to as many ears as possible. And we did. It was one of the few records that I think went top 10. I think it was like number 2 or something on the iTunes electronic chart, but it also made the classical chart as well. So, you know, there was like, it got on both charts, which is very rare for a record. So we're very happy with that. So
nice.
Yeah.
Okay. But soon after, your portfolio started growing like crazy. So at this moment, there are names like Alice in Wonderland, Armin van Buuren, Avicii, may he rest in peace, Tiesto, Anjuna Beats, Anjuna Deep, Basement Jaxx, Bampire, BT, The Chemical Brothers, Clapton, Deadmau5, Deep Dish, Alien Fur, Eric Prydz, Ferry Corsten, John Digweed, Lockwood Eyes, Lost Frequencies. Why am I even trying to name them all? Yeah. There are like 80 names, I think, over there. So what is that crucial thing people recognize in your work as something valuable for themselves?
Well, I think it's what I said before, and some of those artists were we worked with in the past on like various projects, and some of them are ones that Justin also was kind of the lead on. Just to be clear, I think it's just based on our experience. We've just been doing this for a while, you know.
That's proper.
And that really, you know, that really helps. And they, you know, and we just feel really kind of privileged and grateful that people would you know, let us, you know, kind of, you know, work on their projects that are so important to them. So it's just it's just been really great.
Okay. Logical explanation. So working with artists and their managers can be challenging sometimes, I'm aware. So what was the biggest challenge you faced while running the agency?
Well, okay, so I have a very specific philosophy about this, which is what I say to clients, like when we onboard new clients, right? Which is because I've worked with so many artists and so many managers, right? Which is basically we're going to, you know, based on our experience, you know, we're going to tell you what our opinion and be very open with it, right? And be very honest with our opinion about ideas and which way we should go with the marketing and, you know, things that you should do. Okay. That said, you're still the boss. Okay. And you're still like the king of your brand. Right. And if it's something that you feel is off brand or you're not comfortable doing, right, that's totally fine. We'll pivot to do something else, you know? So that sort of puts people at ease because, you know, they're still going to be the head of their, you know, the driver of the ship, as it were, the captain of the ship, because, you know, we can drive the marketing and we can give you everything we can in our heads about how we feel, you know, with all our experience would work the best. You know, but you know, if for example, yeah, you don't want to do TikTok, it's not your style, you know, then we pivot and we do Instagram, you know, promotions or Facebook promotions or something like that. We're very flexible, right, in the way we work, and I think it puts people at ease because it's not, you know, because that by saying that we can be honest, you know, you can say like we're going to still do whatever you want to do, but we're still going to be honest about what we feel is the best way. You know, so because we've worked with so many artists, and you know, they're amazing, but they can be very opinionated about things, and you don't want that kind of friction, right? Where it's like, oh, it's so frustrating. The artist won't do this and the artist won't do that and things like that. And, a lot of people have that attitude, but we're very, we're very flexible, right? If the artist doesn't want to do something, then we'll pivot and do something else.
But okay, not only regarding artists, there should be some challenge that you faced working in the music industry.
Challenge?
Yeah.
I mean, there's always challenges.
Yeah.
There's like, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of like an interesting story that I can tell, but I don't have any.
Not that big one worth mentioning.
No, I mean, I've worked with a lot of artists. Most artists are great,
That's amazing to hear, actually.
Yeah, I mean, most artists are great, or, it's not so much that they're difficult or challenging, but, they maybe just, they don't want to make themselves available, right? Which, as an artist myself, I totally get it. I totally get it. It's like, hey, they don't want to do every little interview with every little blog because they'd rather sleep or rather work on a song or rather just chill out and prepare for their show. I sort of get it, because I understand the kind of artistic side of it as well, and that an artist needs to be given the room to be an artist as well. Right? Yeah. You can't get an artist to do everything. So we throw a lot against the wall and say, hey, these are all the things you can do that, but if we get, just, 20% of it done, then we're happy, because they're most artists aren't going to do everything, or many of them don't want to do everything. So we only offer them the really big looks and things like that, the things that are really worth doing. So it's not so much challenges. It's more that artists have different level. There's some artists that will do everything and anything, right? And that's great, But there are other artists that are more like, I don't really want to talk to anybody. Just want to do my music. You do your thing. I do my thing, and that's totally fine.
You just need to adapt.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Can you reveal few names you enjoyed working with the most? And please don't be like the ambassador, I love them all. And they're all my favorites.
Well, Above and Beyond, of course, is great to work with. Their team is great to work with as well, at Anjuna Beats and Anjuna Deep. I mean, it's, this is what comes to mind mostly just out of the blue, but I really enjoyed working with the Pet Shop Boys just because they've always been heroes of mine, and when Astralwerks signed the Pet Shop Boys for a few albums, it was just a great honor to work with them and to hang out with them backstage at the Jimmy Fallon late night show and things like that, and just to kind of on a fanboy level, that was kind of what was big for me, because I was like a huge fan of theirs as a kid. So, and they're nice guys as well, and they tell great stories.
A good combination for sure.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so do you instantly realize actually what client needs and how to achieve that, or is it complicated sometimes? Are there some crazy requests from them?
That's an interesting question, because there's a bunch of different ways I can go with him. It's not so much crazy requests. It's, I will say that I think some like newer not newer clients, more developing artists, right? Artists that are not yet stars. They're not at the Dead Mouse, Porter Robinson level, right? What I often sort of need to counsel them is to sort of just be patient, right? Because Rome wasn't built in a day, and also what's the other cliche I can think of? You never know how long it took somebody to become an overnight success, right? Like it took Kanye years to become an overnight success, right? So everything, once an artist is successful, it seems like, oh, that was like, wow, overnight, And some artists, are overnight successes, but, if you're putting out your first single, and we work with a lot of developing artists as well, right? You know, and I understand because you're the artist and this is your baby and you want it to get it out to millions of fans, right? But it might not work out that way. It might take your second single, third single, fourth single to build a story, right? So, you know, what I want to counsel kind of younger artists, newer artists, is that there needs to be a bit of patience, because you could have the best team behind you, right? But it's a gradual process building, for most artists, it's a gradual process, you know, building your fan base through your socials, through live shows, through various marketing ideas, for just putting out product and putting out music and putting out interesting assets and things like that. So it's a journey. It's not, you know, for most people, it's not going to happen immediately, you know? And so sometimes, you know, you have to kind of, you know, just say like, look, you know, I know you want this to be, you know, I know you want to be bigger than Jay-Z on your first single, but you know, you have to kind of bring them down to earth a little bit.
Yeah, sometimes they want,
and tell them we're still going to have a good campaign, but, you know, but just kind of sort of manage their expectations.
Because sometimes they want everything and they want it now.
Yeah, we're very realistic. What you know, because we run our own company, we're very kind of honest and realistic with people. And if they don't like what we're saying, we don't need to work with them.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So it's fine.
Exactly. Okay, so if we talk about the client's fan base, I suppose it makes a difference in the markets you need to cover. For example, America works in one way, Europe differently, you know, Asia something completely the opposite. Is it a challenge to make everyone satisfied? Is it even possible to do that?
Well, we obviously want to satisfy, you know, as many people as possible and get to as many people as possible with the music, right? That said, you know, there's certain, you know, there's definitely, you know, certain pockets of demographics or nationalities, whatever, right? That you have to sometimes focus on, you know, like some artists appeal to very young fans. Other artists appeal to kind of an older, more mature audience, you know, like there's techno fans in Serbia have different tastes than, you know, deep house fans in the UK, you know? So we kind of have to cater to different audiences. And, you know, I think, you know, you can't be everything to everybody. I feel like you sort of have to niche down and kind of focus on building a kind of a core audience than trying to, you know, keep everybody happy. You know, that said, you know, we, you know, make sure that if there is an opportunity in Asia or in India or something like that, that we kind of take advantage of that, because there's a lot of fans everywhere. And it's such a, with the internet and everything, you know, you know, the world is much smaller, and, you know, a fan in Indonesia, you know, you can get all kinds of fans in Indonesia and things like that. We worked with a label called NCS, No Copyright Sounds, and they had fans from all over the world. You know, they're like a YouTube channel and a record label, and they think they put out an early Alan Walker record, and they. You know, they're sort of like Monster Cat a little bit, because they started as a YouTube channel, but they have fans from all over the world and stuff. So yeah, it just, you know, you have to find your fans where they are. Got it.
Do some serious research, whatever you do. Okay, this is actually a funny story. During the interview with Christian Burns, I mentioned we kind of met on the Clubhouse.
Oh, right.
But actually, you and I met over there as well, because we were in the same group a few times. You were there talking with Chris, with Ilan Bluestone, with Darude, BT, of course, as well, legend Harry King. I realized this when I met you here in Belgrade, which is super funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, coincidence.
Kind of random. Yeah.
Coincidence? I don't think so. Is it funny? It sure is. But my first question is, are you still active on Clubhouse?
You know, I go on and off of that. I was very active for a while when it first started, right? And it is a great way to kind of meet people, and to kind of hear interesting perspectives. But on the other hand, I also feel like it's a bit of a rabbit hole, right? You could say, and I don't really have time to spend hours and hours on Clubhouse.
Time consuming.
Yeah, a lot of times it's, I would just put it on, just to think while I'm cooking or washing the dishes or something like that. And then someone invites me on stage and says, well, what do you think about this, Lawrence? And I'm like, I am not, like, right now I'm in my underwear, I'm about to go to bed, and I'm not thinking anything, I'm just listening in, So yeah, I mean, it's a fun app. I'm sort of off of it mostly now, but I enjoy, being on it as well. Yeah.
I think it's useful for artists more than some other people, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're also a speaker over there. I need to mention this at NFT conference.
Oh yeah, they asked me to be like a keynote speaker for NFT conference, the first ever NFT music conference or
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, the topic I love so much. Okay, it's not like I hate it. It's just I don't know much about it. So I'm not completely into that. Things going, virtual that way for the artists. But as you know a lot about it, can you share something with us and audience listening? Do you find it valuable for the artists, first of all?
Oh, you mean NFTs?
Yes, NFTs.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's something that I think two things about it. I think definitely it is something that is going to be big in the future for artists. So I think it's definitely a positive in that sense. On the other hand, artists at this point need to be careful, especially developing artists, because a lot of the big dollar signs you see, right, with like Blau, and also BT is very big in that space as well, and we've worked with both those artists, it doesn't translate to more newer developing artists, right? And so there needs to be a sort of a different type of economy for them. I think, that it's very exciting new world, in which, the artists can kind of have more control over, over their product as well. And it's very visual. But I think they, there needs to be some kind of a newer economy, for NFTs, for these kind of digital collectibles, on the blockchain, that the artists, that it will just become another part. It doesn't replace, music and touring and all the basic stuff that you still need to do, right? But it'll just become, or like merchandise or vinyl and all the different things you need to kind of market yourself. But it will just kind of be another part of it. Kind of a natural part of it. Like, okay, so you're putting out an album, you got to get the vinyl together, you got to get the tour together, and you got to get the NFTs together. So it's something like that. Right now, there's kind of a gold rush mentality, and that I don't think that's very healthy. But I think it will become kind of a natural part of the whole ecosystem of how you kind of bring music to market.
I completely agree on that. And I think it's going to be like the future of art, but in addition for something that already exists and something already valuable regarding the artist and their work, for example. Yeah. Okay. So can you explain to the audience what the hell brought you to Belgrade?
Yeah, I feel like I'm always explaining this because I think Serbians are always like, what are you doing here? I think the answer I always give is that I just feel like the vibe here suits me. I've been coming here for years now. I think I was here for the first time in 2017 for a festival called Resonate, which is more experimental festival. And I had a great time here. It just has a vibe that suits me, my personality, it's a little bit like Berlin, but it's not Berlin, it's a little bit, I also am like, I like to travel a lot. But, I think Belgrade just sort of kind of struck me as a place that I could stay for longer, you know, because I just enjoyed being here, you know. I can't really, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a more specific way to say it other than it just sort of suits my personality and I feel comfortable here. You know, I love the people, you know, they're very friendly and open.
Like food, I guess.
Yeah. You know, I like the food, you know.
But do you like Serbian music?
Yeah, I just, yeah, I mean, yeah, I love Serbian music.
Oh, wow.
Yugo Wave, you know, not so much turbo folk. I don't really know too much about that, but it's, you know, yeah, it's Serbia. It's, you know, it's a kind of like a Eastern European capital of techno as well, you know. And another thing, I just remember what I was going to say, is I don't really like to go to really obvious places, right? And Belgrade is a little bit off the beaten path, you know. It's like, it's a place that people wonder, like, why are you going there? Why are you going to Serbia? Like, people in the States are like, oh, Serbia, Siberia, are they the same thing?
Yeah.
They don't really, so people don't really know about it. So I kind of like to go to places like that as opposed to some, you know, crazy tourist trap city that everybody goes to, right? So that's why, you know, I like it better, for example, than Prague, you know, which is almost like Western European in a way. And it's like a beautiful fairy tale castles, and, you know, but all I see is just a sea of tourists, you know, and Belgrade isn't there yet. It's still very much Serbian, you know, so that's why I like it.
I love your way of thinking. Okay, so a couple of months ago, you were at Exit Festival.
Oh, yeah.
So the guys from Billboard asked you to do some kind of article.
Yeah.
Like a report
regarding
that festival. So I read it, and it really looks amazing. And I think it's almost completely the truth, what you wrote over there. So I really like it, and I like the way you were writing it. So what do you think about Exit Festival and your experience while you were there?
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. Now I've thought of another reason why I like, I like Serbia and Belgrade is because during the pandemic, it was slightly more open than a lot of other countries and places. And I had COVID very early on, and I'm vaccinated, so I have a slightly different mentality than other Americans. I just, you know, it's fine. I'm glad people are being cautious, but for me, myself, I wanted to go to a place that was more open, right? And so I was very curious about Exit because it was the first major European music festival that was completely open since the pandemic began. Right. And they were very careful as far as making sure, you know, everybody was either vaccinated or had a test, you know, and it was almost like an experiment, you know. And so I thought it was just really interesting for me to be at the first, you know, festival, you know, that kind of opened up. So that was that was interesting. I'd never been to Novi Sad before, so I was interested in that, and never been to Exit before. And, you know, I've heard about Exit for many years. So, so it was a great experience.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. We all love Exit Festival. Okay, so we actually met at the Time Code event that happened at the beginning of September. It was a lovely event at the rooftop in Belgrade. And so you met the guys from the organization, right?
Yeah, Dimitri and Ivan.
So what is your opinion about Time Code events?
Well, I love Time Code. I think they do a great job. You know, they find amazing exotic locations, and they do a great job in shooting it. It's all very beautiful, and they get great, you know, DJ talent to play it, you know. And I didn't even know they were Serbian, you know, until I met Dimitri, you know. That was actually my first actual Time Code event that I was at, you know, like live in person. So that was quite exciting for me. And I really like what they're doing. So it was cool in meeting them as well.
Yeah, it's a good way to support these guys for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, but you mentioned a different state of mind regarding pandemic. So people over here have one state of mind, and people in America, for example, have completely the other. So what is that you like or you don't like when we talk about people living over here and people living in America?
You mean regarding the pandemic?
Regarding the pandemic, yeah.
I think America is really different because it's a little bit more complicated than that, because America has the different states basically make their own rules and make their own laws. So so regarding the pandemic, there are places like Florida and Texas, which are very open, that are basically like Serbia, right? And then there are places like California and New York, which are more locked down, more closed down. Everywhere is opening up now, right? And so it's very kind of divided in that way, And it was, and my reason for coming to Belgrade in Serbia is not specifically because of the pandemic either. It's also like I like Belgrade better than Texas or Florida. I could go to Florida,
Wow.
if I'm trying to escape the pandemic, but I prefer, Serbia as well. I prefer being in Europe. So, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Right now we have a little game to play.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's called Simply the Truth. So I have over here 7 numbers.
Okay.
Behind every number, there is one question. And
can I pass or something?
No.
Oh, I have to.
No, don't worry. This is nothing personal. I'm going to be a good girl.
Okay.
You just need to pick 3 out of 7 numbers. And I will reveal the questions, and I will need you to answer those questions.
Okay.
Okay.
I suppose I'll do it.
Yeah. Let's see.
Well, since I get to pick 3, I'll pick the number 3.
Number 3. All right. What is your hidden talent? Not everyone knows.
Oh, my hidden talent. The first thing that comes to mind is I know how to, I enjoy cooking and cooking Chinese food that my mom kind of taught me how to do, which is just sauteing stuff in a big wok, just cutting up, all the vegetables and all the meat into little pieces and just putting it in a wok for like 60 seconds and then having it with some rice, and it's delicious. So I like cooking.
Wow, nice. All right, the second one.
Second one, let's try 7.
7. 7 says, did you ever reject to work with someone?
Did I ever reject? Oh, okay. Well, no, okay, yeah, I can answer this honestly insofar as...
You don't need to say who was that.
Yeah, no, I can tell you the situation because it's a totally understandable situation. Sometimes, sometimes labels or artists come to us when they need, like in an emergency, when they feel like something that the ship is sinking and they have a single they're putting out, but it's a big problem for them or something, right? And they would maybe come to us like a week before it's out or after it's already out to try to fix it, right? And we kind of shy away from that because we like to be, successful with our projects and have our clients like what we do and come back. And, I don't like to be in situations where almost like set up to fail, And so, yeah, I mean, in those cases, then we like politely decline to work with something that is like where we don't have enough runway, to really set something up properly. And you know what? We have to I think the general thing is that we have to vibe with the music. We have to really believe in it and be passionate about the artist and the music. Yeah. And so if it's something that's not for us, that could be it could be good music, but just not for us, then we reject.
Well, I completely approve that. So,
yeah.
Understandable. All right, and the third one?
Yeah, this is actually pretty cool. Getting some. Yeah.
I'm glad you like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. How about 2?
2.
Yeah, go for a.
2 says, what was the biggest mistake you made in your life?
The biggest mistake.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, I think one of the, I can say the biggest regret is the only thing is that,
okay.
one of the biggest is, I was in a really bad bicycle accident, in Central Park, where basically, you know, I fell down, I broke a lot of bones and things like that. And it literally was the week before I was all set to go to Coachella. You know, and you know, like the Island Records was sending me and anything like that. And I still remember I was all like broken in the hospital, you know, thinking, oh, I can still go, but I couldn't go, you know, and I ended up just taking like 6 weeks off work, you know, in order to, you know, recuperate from that accident. But something good came out of it because it's basically is what started my music career as a artist. And, you know, it was through that I, you know, just being sort of depressed and, you know, at home and not going to Coachella and not being able to work. And also, you know, my face was all messed up because of, you know, the accident and just feeling down about myself. In order to keep my mind off of it, I started working on music. And I've always, you know, tinkered around with music. I knew, you know, how to operate Ableton, but I really kind of dug in and finished like about 4 songs. And, you know, in that period, just being at home, and just, you know, put them out. And, yeah, they got that's still the EP that got like a lot of, you know, they got the 4.5 million plays. So, you know, it's something good came out of that. So, yeah. So that's sort of, you know, like I kind of, you know, I think it's true that a lot of the misfortunes that one has in life, there's actually, you know, it actually pushes you into a direction that in retrospect, you know, was a good thing to happen.
I completely agree on that. Yeah. And there's a silly expression like everything happens with a reason.
Right.
But it actually does, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know you personally like Anjuna sound. So we were also actually at the same events, festivals in Europe a few years ago, before we knew each other. Still, you were born and raised in New York.
Yes.
Right? So I guess there is something you like to listen to besides electronic music. You mentioned how you started.
Oh, yeah. I like a lot of different types of music, you know, so in fact, yeah. So, I mean, I like, you know, everything from Bob Dylan to metal. I'm a huge metal fan as well. What else? Like jazz. So I think I got training because, you know, I've always been into a lot of different types of music. I like pop music as well. I love BTS, you know. But I think part of it was being the music director at a radio station where you were forced to listen to everything that came out and decide what you would program onto, you know, add to the playlist of the station. And so that was good training in all kinds of, you know, it depends on your mood. You know, sometimes you're in the mood for metal and exactly. Sometimes you're in the mood for jazz, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So don't worry, I did not forget to mention this. How could I? You are also an artist, as we know. But we're not talking about any music style similar to the clients your clients make, the clients you represent.
Right.
But can you explain what kind of electronic music you make?
Yeah, you know, I know this is a terrible cliche that artists say, but it's like it's hard to explain or whatever. But I suppose like it's electronic, but it's not quite techno. Although I do have some techno influences, and you know, but I also sing on them, and there's like vocals on them. I'm very influenced by artists like, you know, from the past, from the 70s to the 90s, like Suicide is a big influence of mine. Is a famous kind of punky electronic band from the 70s. And, you know, I really love Radiohead as well. So it's a lot of different influences going on in there. So it's sort of like indie experimental electronic, I suppose you could call it. Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, so it is kind of different. And then I put out an ambient record as well last year. So, yeah, it's kind of a little bit more experimental, but that's what I'm into. So
that's important. You do what you want, what you feel. Okay, so you released a couple of EPs on Spotify. One of those ended up with more than 4.5 million streams.
Right, the first one.
I'm gonna say wow. So you're also a Spotify marketing professional. I'm joking. So this is really impressive, for sure. But you also released an EP called Isolation Loops.
Yeah.
Inspired by your personal experience of the pandemic. When I listened to this, to be honest, what I felt actually is mysterious and kind of, I don't know, spine-chilling vibe.
Right.
What is the initiator for your music creation?
Well, I think for that particular record, it was because I was one of the first people to get COVID in the States in New York. It was like nobody even really knew what it was. I think it was March 2020 or something like that, like about a year and a half ago. You know, I just stayed in my room. They wouldn't, the testing was really bad then, you know, so, you know, when I finally got tested, it took 10 days for the results to come back. So it's not like today, it seems like night and day where you can get almost instantaneous results. And so I was actually, you know, in my kind of locked up in my room, self-isolating for 2 weeks or so, you know, or maybe a bit more. And basically, you know, when I started feeling better, that I felt great. And I just, you know, whenever I come out of kind of traumatic experience or something like that, I just want to create, you know, I feel kind of a new leash on life. So I started working on these songs, you know, and yeah, they're weird and they're kind of make you almost a little uncomfortable as well, you know, so it was kind of an interesting experiment for me, you know, and almost with like sound collage and things like that. It was my most experimental work, but I just felt like I had to get it out into the world, you know, so yeah.
Wow. Okay. Cool. So as far as I know, there is a new EP coming out soon, right?
Yes, I'm almost done with it. It's actually being mastered right now, but I'm very excited for it. It's actually one of the tracks is something I've been working on for years.
Oh, wow.
And it's just been kind of, you know, in my hard drive, and I would tinker with it, and I would tinker more with it, and I've actually played it out when I've DJ'd, but then I've completely revamped the arrangements, and it's just it's like a difficult record to mix because there's so much going on in it. It's got influences of, it's a techno song, but it's also really influenced by like Japanese noise and things that I'm into in the like weird indie music from the 90s. And so it's like, it's 4 minutes, but there's all these really different things that go on. So it just took a while for me to be happy with it, just because it was difficult to mix all these different layers. But I'm finally happy with it, and I'm finally like, you know, I've been like to the last minute, put a little cowbell here, just all kinds of little changes, you know. But I'm finally happy with it, so it's going to finally see the light of day, you know. And then I have there's another song on there that's very experimental, that's influenced by things like Scott Walker, who's this kind of this crooner, you know, who's, you know, one of my musical heroes, this British like kind of guy who sang ballads in the 60s, and just influenced by, it's not even a dance track, you know, it's influenced by kind of 90s kind of slowcore type stuff, like 90s indie rock. So so kind of going back to my roots there, you know.
Interesting. Cannot wait. But when can we expect it?
You know, I haven't set a release date for that yet. Okay. Like I said, it's still being mastered, but I'm you know,
but soon, I guess.
Yeah, so, you know, like every artist, like, he's most excited about his latest work. So there you go.
Of course, understandable completely. Okay, so you also like Iceland so much. Are there any other special places you like or you want to visit outside America?
That I want to visit, I don't know. I mean, I think I visited a lot of places, and they're, like when I went to Iceland twice about over 10 years ago, and it was amazing. Was there for Iceland Airwaves. It's just a really cool country. I think it's gotten a little over touristed, so I don't go there anymore. And I like Montreal as well. It's very close to New York, but it's a completely different world. Everyone's speaking French. They have really interesting food. They also have a great electronic music scene there. So that's also very much my vibe, very kind of artistic and cultural there. A bit like Belgrade, you know. So, I like these kind of urban, kind of gritty places with a lot of graffiti and stuff, and a lot of kind of creativity, So, I like Montreal. Places that I want to go to. I want to go to Slovenia.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. Like, I'm just like, I want to check out Ljubljana, I was actually planning this summer, while I was in Belgrade, to take these trips to like Zagreb and Ljubljana, but I ended up not going because I wasn't really sure what the COVID restrictions were, if I was trying to get through the border. It's like, so.
Well, my advice, if you want to go over there, to visit Bled. It's a lake.
Yes, I heard it's beautiful there. Yeah.
Or if you like skiing, you could also visit some mountains. Yeah. They have nice ones.
Yeah.
So I realized you could work from anywhere in the world. This is the reason why you're here for a couple of months. So what exactly is your job in front of the computer right now? How does your regular day look like?
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bit, so I'm going back to New York because, it is a little bit kind of different, because of the time zones, It's actually okay because I'm only, I work with Black Hole Recordings as well, and they're in the same time zone, right? Because they're in the Netherlands. And, and then June is in London, so they're only one time zone away. So there's no problem with that. It's more working with the clients and my partner in the US, that's a little bit tricky, but it's not. I make it work because basically, I'm up hours and hours before they are sending them emails. So I'm kind of get ahead of the game there. And there's just occasionally when you need to talk to someone in LA, you may need to do a Zoom or a conference call at like 11 in the evening, but I make it work, So I'm always kind of working, So I enjoy my work a lot, I really thrive on it. So I don't mind any of these slight inconveniences.
That's really important, that joy moment regarding the work. Yeah, I think everyone wants to achieve that in their lives, but it's not always that easy, unfortunately. Okay, so how many people are actually involved in your agency?
Well, we have an office in Miami, an office in New York, and sometimes Belgrade, and an office in LA as well.
Really? I didn't know this for Belgrade.
Well, no, I'm just saying that's me.
Oh, okay.
And then we have we have a publicist in LA as well. So yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
So are there any open positions? Can I apply?
Yeah, you can be our Belgrade office, Right. We'll talk after.
We'll talk after, yeah, okay. So you're returning to America soon, as you said. What plans do you have written in your agenda for the future? Can we see another big name joining Bampire Music Agency, maybe?
Yeah, we're working on a few things, but I can't really talk about it. There's a lot of exciting things that we're working on for the future and for 2022, which is coming up. So, and there's still, I'm still going to be doing some traveling as well, for work. So, I may go to London in December. And so there's other things that we're doing, and we're always talking to people, to be, clients and things like that. So there's definitely a lot of interesting things coming up in the future, both from our current clients, and new ones. So yeah, just very excited.
Cool. Always on the move, always busy. Okay.
Yeah, try to be.
All right. This was a lovely conversation.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It was nice chatting with you, Lawrence.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought this was great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you for showing me and everyone watching and listening to some other side of the music scene. accepting my invitation and coming directly to my studio. This was a nice journey into the music industry, once again. I wish you great success with your music, the agency, and I hope to see you soon again in Belgrade. Okay, no, I hope to see you soon somewhere in the world.
Sure, you should come to New York sometime.
When things get better regarding the COVID, for sure. All right, so behind you there is a poster. You can see it. It's called Creatures of the Night because it is made for creatures of the night, as you are, for example. So the idea is everyone who come to this studio and record this interview with me to leave some kind of a mark. Okay. So you will leave your mark and it's going to be your signature and your fingerprint.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I'm not going to use it for something illegal. Don't worry about it. But we will do this afterwards, okay?
Sounds great.
And one more thing. I have one tiny special gift for you.
Oh, wow.
Because I want to thank you for being here.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Oh. You can check it. Tell me if the size is right. If not, I'm going to correct it.
Yeah, no, thank you. Oh, t-shirt. Yep. Oh, wow. This looks great.
Yeah, the printing is really awesome.
Yeah, no, I really like this logo. I'm definitely going to wear this.
Thank you.
This is perfect. Yeah. No, I wear t-shirts. I mean, obviously, but this one I would wear, you know?
Perfect.
Yeah, wow.
I'm glad.
Very nice.
All right.
Cool.
So, music lovers out there, please feel free to share your impressions about this episode. If you like this interview, please click on the like button below this video, leave a comment and share it with the world. If you haven't subscribed to the Connected by Frequency YouTube channel, don't forget to do it and do it now. And yes, until next time, we will for sure stay connected by frequency. Take care and have fun.